As America celebrates its 250th birthday, we've spent the past few months traveling West Michigan in search of the people who make this country what it is. They're fishermen and farmers, artists and immigrants, veterans, volunteers, and everyday Americans with extraordinary stories. This isn't a story about our country. It's a story about we the people.
We the People is sponsored by North Point Bank.
Welcome to our We the People special. I'm Riley Mack. First up, we figured it's fitting to start with a story about a greeting. We stopped by a classic Michigan institution to meet the man who may just be its heart. Jose Anleo would tell you he's not doing anything special, but everyone who walks through the doors of the Meijer on Alpine Avenue would disagree.
Hello, how are you? Buenas noches.
If a smile can really open doors,
Hello, how are you? Hi.
it's no wonder Jose Anleo
Laura.
ended up here.
She's Laura. How are you today, guys? Hi, lady. Have a good night. Thank you. Que le vaya muy bien. Wonderful coming both. How are you? I am a greeter from Meijer Alpine number 20, and I am so excited to come here and do my job. I got the car, sir. Thanks so much. Have a great night. See ya. The people say hi and bye with a big smile, and I do the same, you know.
And it brightens your day?
Yes, for sure.
Like most good things in life,
Good night. Thank you.
one day Jose just appeared.
You actually showed up here with your resume and said, hire me.
Yes, I come here, knock the door. How are you? Nice to see you. My name is Jose. I want to work here. I like the position of greeter, and I got it.
That's awesome.
Yes, I am so happy for that. Believe me.
The feeling was mutual
Oh, the customers rave about Jose.
for Kate Macmillan.
I'm the store director of the Alpine Meijer. I think the most common phrase I hear from our customer base is, I love Jose. When do we get to see Jose again? I can't wait to see Jose.
Always nice to see you.
One of the most positive, kind-hearted people you will ever meet.
Hi, how are you, ladies?
But long before he made a living out of saying hello,
Hello, how are you? Hi.
he had to say goodbye.
I born in Guatemala.
When did you move over to Michigan?
The hardest part of chasing the American dream
I moved in 2003.
was leaving his other dream
My 6 kids stay in Guatemala.
behind.
For 1 year, I was alone, and I talked to my kids, and believe me, it was incredible when I talked to my kids. My heart broken in pieces, more when I talked to I talked to the baby. When I talked to Luz de Maria, she told me, I need you, Pap.
He came here to find work and build a better life for his family, even if it meant missing them.
My kids do the same. Dad, I miss you. I need to see you. And well, one day was 28th of February of 2004, and I am so happy because all together again.
The man who once felt so far from home
Buenas noches.
now makes sure no one else does.
I make a lot of friends. Hey, here is the boy. How are you?
Does it feel like you're where you're supposed to be?
Yes, for sure. I love it, yes.
I think he's just one of a kind.
Hello, lady. How are you? Nice to see you. Good, thank you.
He just brings that brightness to the building.
Buenas noches. ¿Cómo está? Muy bien, gracias.
America once opened a door for Jose.
Hey, Nemia, how are you?
Now,
Bye. Have a good evening. Thank you.
he opens one back.
Hello, how are you? Hi. Hello. Hi, little missus. How are you tonight? Hello. Hola. Hi, how are you?
For some, like Jose, a career begins with a job application. But for our next story, that was not the case. We'll introduce you to a man in South Haven whose career simply reeled him in.
Give a man a fish.
Anybody know what way the lake is?
You feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish. He eats for a lifetime. Or in the case of Eric Schippa,
Absolutely wonderful every time.
3.
I'm a third-generation charter fisherman.
Every morning. This is Eric's commute to the office.
Just another fun part of the experience.
Not over it.
Here we go.
Under it.
I go under it 2 to 4 times a day, every day. We're headed into Lake Michigan from the Port of South Haven. We see this view about every day from 1st of April till about the middle of October. Definitely a good way to spend a summer. when I was a kid. That's all that was on my mind. Kind of almost once it gets in your blood, it's kind of hard to get out.
Hard to get out.
Ready to rip?
And easy to understand. Why?
We made it. Why do I like this spot? Because we don't have any gas to go any further.
For Eric, these lines don't just run into the water. They run in the family.
Began with my grandfather.
There's Eric's grandfather, Lyle, in one of the first Shippa charter boats.
Shippa's Marina. It's my grandmother and grandfather's charter service in Saugatuck. In '66, the salmon were put in here, and in '68 is when they started fishing them. My understanding, my grandfather was one of the first. Being third generation, it really helps out here because I get all of their knowledge, you know. What this is an Adeline. This is an extra
When did you
line.
know that this was something you wanted to do too?
As a kid, started first mating with my cousin at the age of 7, and then the minute I was 17, I took my captain's license, and here we are at West Michigan Charter Fishing. I guess I always knew. Yeah.
The water looks calm.
We're gonna start the hunt if we don't find nothing.
The work often isn't.
As a whole, we do about 120 trips a year. The business part of it is up and down. We come out here on most of our days off.
That's hard work.
Can be. It's worth it every day. They say it's not like work if you love it, right? So we don't hardly work a day out here.
Why is it worth it?
Why is it worth it? You'll find out when we get a bite.
And we did find out.
Oh, we got a fish on!
After our first bite.
You're doing a great job. Good job. Here is a beautiful coho salmon. Gorgeous fish. Good job, gal.
And again after 2.
Nice work. That a girl. That a girl. There we go. Coming, Riley, perfect.
Then 3.
Yeah, just like that. That's what we're after.
Then 11.
Every day is a perfect day fishing.
The only thing we didn't need to catch?
Definitely feels good to be back.
The fishing bug.
Yeah.
Eric's was contagious.
Today was perfect.
You can't count on much in this business, but 2 things. Stay anchored.
What does it mean to carry on something that your grandfather started?
The lines that lead outside of the boat.
Oh, you know he's looking down, smiling.
And the lineage within it.
I feel like I'm where I'm supposed to be.
Sometimes the American dream isn't about where you start. It's about where you refuse to stay. Ahead, we'll meet 2 West Michigan men who overcame long odds to build something for themselves and our community. The American story is often one of hard work, resilience, and second chances. Our next story highlights a Muskegon Heights leader who embodies all 3. Here's the incredible story of a local leader who went from cell block to council chambers.
For his entire life, he has stood before closed doors, before barriers, before darkness. Because before he ever sat in this seat, William Kitchen sat in a prison cell.
21 years straight.
Words are what define us.
I come from the worst titles that you can think of. Inmate, convict, felon.
But William was once defined by a sentence.
I was charged with armed robbery and felony firearm. So I was sentenced to 11 to 40 years.
Charged as an adult. Sentenced as a child.
And that was starting at 14 years old.
14. I was in an overprotective household, and so I started to venture off into the streets a little bit. I should have stayed at home.
But by just 18 years
I
old,
couldn't remember what that felt like.
William didn't know what home was.
Once you get inside of prison, it's a whole different world. You have to adjust and adapt. I became violent. The Michigan Department of Corrections had designated me as a gang leader. So I did an additional 10 years based off of my misconduct and sent me into maximum security prisons, 23-hour lockdown. And I did that for about 16 years. I've spent at one point 2 years just in the hole. There had to be a level of almost insanity just to make it through the day. It felt like every part and every piece of me was broken. I hold myself accountable for the decisions that I made. But if I knew better, I would have done better.
Now 40 years old, William has spent more than half his life
I didn't go to prom, graduation. I just got my first car.
behind locked doors.
I missed all of it.
But wait until you hear what he did when one opened.
One of the greatest moments of my life.
A judge once handed William Kitchen a sentence But at a 2025 city council meeting, a judge handed him something else.
Surreal.
A seat at the table.
I'm sitting in the conference room with the city council, keys to the city hall.
Running for city council.
After doing 21 years in prison.
And winning.
Surreal.
Every precinct.
Surreal.
After his release, William mentored at schools across the county.
Try my best now to deter them from the path that I took.
And went back to school himself on a full-ride scholarship.
Blew my mind.
Living in a freshman dorm at 36.
While I did have my moments where I felt insecure, not worthy, I still made the best of it. I wanted to learn as much as I could.
He was done serving his time. He decided instead
to say that I'm a city councilman in a city that I love.
To serve his city.
Carry it as a badge of honor.
For years, he was defined by a sentence.
A lot of people who come out of incarceration, they're ashamed.
Today, William Kitchen is writing his own.
It's something that I've allowed to now be my motivation. If that can happen for me, that can happen for any one of us.
Second chances are at the heart of our next story, too. Andy Havemeyer grew up in his grandfather's bakery, learning the ropes. His path forward looked obvious until it didn't.
At Hall Street Bakery.
Most of the time in the morning when you open, the bread is still warm. Most people come in and they're like, oh my God, it smells so good, that bread.
Bread is baked, starting from scratch.
Heard.
It does still just smell like work to me, you know?
Andy Havemeyer knows something about that.
Every night, I wanted to go to sleep to end that day, but I also didn't want to go to sleep because I knew I would just wake up and it'd be another day of the same struggle.
But to understand how he ended up here,
it's really the lack of hope.
We must first look at where the recipe begins.
So my family owned Herman's Boy, so I kind of grew up in this industry.
There's Andy riding in the back of his grandfather Floyd's car.
On the schedule at 11 and helping customers and all stuff like that.
The same grandfather who opened a different bakery and gave him his first chance.
By the time I left Herman's Boy, which was 2017.
A first chance.
It was pretty bad with both pills and alcohol.
He would squander.
It gotten so bad that I said I'm leaving, and they said, okay. 2019, I was homeless for a few weeks, and that's when I walked into the doors at Guiding Light, a recovery place.
Just as good bread requires patience.
Lived there for 8 months.
So does becoming who you're supposed to be.
Kind of just saw this place come up. I don't know if I want to get back in the same industry, but I'm going to take this interview at least for practice. I met with owner, I met with Jim.
When you see his resume and it has the address,
former owner Jim McClure,
you know they're going through something.
Hey, I'm literally living downtown at rehab right now.
We still hired him. Everybody has struggle, and you can't be afraid of hiring a person with struggles.
It was a chance. It was definitely a big chance that he took on me.
He was hired to work at the bakery.
Did you ever think back then that that would lead to this?
Never knowing one day he'd own it.
We decided that we were going to look into selling the businesses. Andy was the one that felt he could do it.
Now celebrating 3 years as the owner of Hall Street and Wealthy Street Bakeries.
I've been very blessed. I don't want to let them down. I don't want to let myself down.
He found his footing in a bakery. Again. Then he found Andrea. Again.
She was an employee at Herman's Boy 15 years ago, and I posted something like 1 year sober or something like that, and she had been sober for about a year then too.
We'll call that full circle.
Just met for coffee. 14 months later we were married. 18 months later we had our first son. His name is Floyd, after my grandpa who started Herman's Boy.
His life experiences have given him a quality that is pretty rare.
Bread rises because of what's already inside of it.
He's always risen to the challenge.
It turns out, so do people.
I just want to be a testament that you can get through whatever.
The freedoms we enjoy in America's 250th year are built on service and sacrifice. Ahead, we'll meet a veteran who's continuing to give back long after his military career ended, and the women making sure the stories of vets stand the test of time. In its 250th year, a group of Muskegon County volunteers is making sure the men and women who helped build this country are never forgotten. They're digitizing military records dating back generations, preserving not just names on a page, but the stories behind them.
you could never tell from the parking lot.
I'm working on Liber 29.
But inside this building,
World War I.
there's a war going on.
Enlisted in Chicago, and we just flip it over.
A war against one enemy nobody outruns.
This guy was a bombardier.
A war more urgent every day.
The discharge date, August 10th, 1946.
A war against the clock.
Some of these things are 150 years old or more. It's a fight against time, for sure.
Karen Frazier,
President of the Muskegon County Genealogical Society.
our general.
We're currently indexing military records filed by veterans when they came home or came to Muskegon County.
And this is something that has not been done before.
That is correct.
This file room,
So we just crank it back.
our front lines.
We've done from here all the way to here. There's about 87 of them, and we're almost done with them all. The project we're working on now is been about 2.5 years. We each take a book. They're heavy and big and bulky. We put them in a spreadsheet. It's helping people as they're researching their family. We've done Civil War, World War I, still in World War II, with some Korean War included in that.
Every week, these old records
Jeng, G-E-N-G.
fade
Herbert George Jeng.
a little more.
Paperwork declines over years.
And the people these documents belong to lost to time.
They just are coming apart.
But this trio says not on their watch.
So that page is done.
Documents
On to the next page, and every book has approximately 500.
belonging to those who fought to make it the land of the free
630 in yours.
and the people,
And we like getting together and talking every week. It makes the process more enjoyable.
saving those documents for free.
We are all volunteers, regardless if it's good or bad. You have to learn from your history to go forward.
They served their country.
A lot of them are already gone.
Now this group serves their county.
But this is another way for that service to be acknowledged. This is page 356.
Each page belongs to someone who bravely answered the call
Color of eyes, blue,
to fight.
5 feet 11 inches tall.
Now, after years of fading in a file cabinet,
We're very proud.
someone is finally fighting for them.
And then when this project's done, we're ready to move on to the next. So.
That group may be honoring veteran stories of the past, but our next story honors one that's still being written. You may have seen his children's show on PBS. You may have had his coffee in downtown Grand Rapids, but you don't know the incredible story behind community giant Michael Hyacinth yet.
Oh, hey! Welcome to Wimmy's World!
Inside a children's show studio,
This is the place!
a puppet named Wimmy
Wimmy dreamed of an island filled with cupcakes.
will tell you anything is possible.
You never know how you come out.
For a man named Michael Hyacinth, it had to be.
Found myself, like many veterans, experiencing hard times, driving a yellow cab in New York City, trying to figure out what do I do next.
Ask Michael what he does for a living.
Yeah.
Then prepare for a surprise.
Yeah, I tell him I'm a black guy from the Bronx who served in the military and is now working with puppets.
No, Michael's job title will never fit in a box.
Probably Chief Visionary Officer.
He spent his life
Is that a title?
thinking outside of it.
We grew up pretty poor. I think my story is the American story. I come from a family of immigrants. We're from Haiti, moved to the Bronx, served in the military.
Now the creator of a show on PBS,
I gotta clear my brain.
building a world where kids feel safe in the same world where he didn't.
Although those deployments were pretty rough, I think the most difficult job I had was when I was back in the Bronx. I was called to be a casualty assistance officer, and that's an officer that helps to notify the next of kin when a loved one was killed. What made that really difficult was that it was my best friend was killed, and I had to go notify his parents. To this day is something which really sticks with me. It's part of the American dream, right? It's how do you turn beauty from nightmare.
Michael knows service.
Wimmy, to me, is what hope can create.
Service to our country.
It was inspired by work supporting wounded veterans.
Service to our children.
Hey, Wimmy, do you drink coffee? I know the name of an amazing coffee place.
So,
What's the name of this amazing coffee place?
are you really surprised to learn the service doesn't stop there?
Welcome to Has Heart Coffee Shop.
For the kids, there's Wimmy's World.
Warm up the milk.
for the veterans.
Serve the caramel with the latte.
Michael had something else in mind.
Veterans can come in and get a free cup of coffee. Coffee in the military is something that brings you back home.
Michael co-founded a coffee shop where veterans can meet with designers to create art based on their service.
So this design was created by a former paratrooper. From parachute to flowers.
From serving his country.
To be an American means to think about your neighbor.
To serving his community.
What better way to honor those who've not made it back by continuing to serve your fellow citizens?
Some people finish their service and move on.
We all can play a role in uplifting each other.
Michael Hyacinth.
From our veterans to our kids.
Just found new ways.
We all can play a role.
To report for duty.
Play yours.
Not every American story makes the headlines. Ahead, 3 people whose work often goes unnoticed, but helps keep our communities running. America is built by people who do the invisible work so the rest of us never miss a beat. Our next story introduces us to 2 of those people, the men behind a disappearing trade, traveling all around Michigan to restore a specific piece of history inside our churches.
Before a wedding.
Yeah, I'll grab the keys.
Before a funeral. Before a Sunday morning hymn.
There, Bill.
They arrive, breathing life into the still air of the church, not through a pair of lungs.
We use wind to sing,
but through a different.
The organ pipes use wind to speak.
Organ.
A pipe organ, you can feel it. To watch people's faces light up when the instrument is played, it makes you feel like your job means something to somebody.
You've heard of the American dream.
Yeah, my name is Bill Swem.
Now meet the guy living his...
I am in the organ maintenance business.
Pipe dream.
I never thought growing up that it would be the job I would do. But my grandfather worked for the Michigan Organ Company. I can reach it from there, yeah. And then my dad followed in his footsteps. I just kind of grew up in it. I'm still here.
Here.
In a moment, you'll hear us tune these.
A place where Guy Vanderwagen...
She's being cantankerous.
...combines work...
Sometimes that happens.
...and play.
I started out in the pipe organ business working with his grandfather back in the early 70s. I have been playing for 57 years, longer than I care to admit. Oh my goodness. It moves you like nothing else can. They're called the king of instruments for a very good reason.
A reason that makes Bill's work flood in so fast it's practically biblical.
It used to be I had 70 churches that I would do. Now I've got over 200.
But as he nears retirement, he can't find anyone to carry on the tune.
There used to be a lot more guys that did it, but they're either retiring or have died off.
Nobody's coming up to replace them, so it's going to be a problem.
I feel bad for some of the customers because they end up having to wait so long for me to get there.
Like an art conservator would come in and restore a painting, we have to do the same thing with organs.
If churches can't find somebody to take care of the instrument, eventually it becomes unusable. A lot of churches are abandoning it.
Okay, Bill, I think we can tune.
We've salvaged a couple that they were just going to throw away. But I'm getting older and I can't keep up with that anymore.
After the wedding, after the funeral, after the Sunday hymn,
it's used to celebrate life.
The air leaves the organ like breath leaving lungs.
It's a beautiful instrument.
A trade disappearing into background noise.
And I want to preserve that.
Or maybe just a song, waiting for its next note.
I hate to see them lost.
From church sanctuaries to courthouse hallways, our next story features another West Michigander bringing a little extra care to her work. For one county clerk, officiating weddings became more than a duty. It became an honor to have and to hold.
If you've seen one government building, you've seen them all. Same lights, same sounds, same sights.
A lot of times you do see that. It's cold and distant.
But you haven't seen one.
I didn't want it to be a typical clerk's office.
Like this.
I've always been called extra, but I think it's just the fact that I want to give everybody the quality that they deserve.
Karen Bowie's county clerk office handles everything from the beginning of life.
We can access birth records
to the end.
Death records. I'm responsible for elections, concealed weapons permits for the entire county. We keep all of the oaths minutes for the county commissioner. Gosh, I do a little bit of everything.
So it's no surprise there's one more role for the clerk to have.
Part of your role as county clerk is weddings.
And to hold.
Yes. Yes.
But while most would stick to for better or for worse, Karen decided these couples deserve better. Much better.
When people come to the county building, they did not expect to see a chapel. I don't want it to be just a civil ceremony that they walk in, say a few words, and walk out. I want it to be memorable. I asked our administrator, was there a room that I could use to do weddings? And he was like, well, okay, what are you going to do to the room? I said, I want to make it like a real chapel.
Karen got the room.
Okay, friends.
Now it seems all we need is a bride and a groom.
We are gathered here today to celebrate the joining of Matthew and Victoria.
She was working at this little store up in Whitehall that a lot of contractors stop into to eat lunch, and I seen her, and I had to go there to eat lunch for the next 20 days straight.
Did you know that he was interested in you?
Of course. Today will be a reflection of the love that brought them here.
The new Mr. and Mrs. Shepherd expected their courthouse wedding to be on par with its $25 price.
And you may kiss your beautiful bride.
Little did they know, Karen would make it priceless.
Congratulations.
Karen's been great, so personable, just like a ray of sunshine, the nicest person in the world.
And right here, dear.
It worked out. It worked out good. I can't wait to spend the rest of my life with her.
After all these years, after all these ceremonies,
absolutely.
You'd think Karen would be used to it.
I know the officiant isn't supposed to cry, but
you would be wrong.
Just about every wedding I cry. I absolutely love it. I'm such a softie. I just love love.
Government buildings.
Sometimes it can be cold and distant.
Not the first place you'd associate with passion.
If I've done nothing else, hopefully I've changed that narrative with this office.
But passion and Karen Bowie?
I don't know anything else but to serve.
Till death record. Do they part?
America is built by people who are up before everyone else, making sure our cities run smoothly. So smoothly, in fact, we never even have to think about their job. But in our next story, we're putting a well-deserved spotlight on one of those unsung heroes.
Before the first light hits the skyline,
All right, let's go.
The city is almost silent. I did say almost.
It's extremely loud.
Many of us wake up to alarms. This city wakes up.
I'm the guy waking everybody up.
To the song of his truck.
You have to have that rhythm from can to can to get the job done.
Yep, you know the sound of him. But now you'll know his name.
My name is Courtney Taylor. I am a refuse collection operator for the city of Grand Rapids. I'm extremely passionate about my job. People don't think about that. It's not just a job. I am doing a community service. Love seeing the kids in the window asking for a horn. They're just in awe of the truck.
Do you ever feel like you know people based on their trash?
Absolutely. You find out some things about people. I'll tip some carts and I'm like, ooh, they had a good weekend.
900 stops on his route.
Fuller and Ball, Spencer and Leonard.
And still growing.
All of the routes have expanded. The city is growing, has grown, it still is growing.
And you are feeling that?
Oh, absolutely. Makes the day a little bit longer.
It's a hard day's work. Take it from Courtney.
$13.59.
Before Courtney takes it away.
What would you say makes this job difficult?
Weather. Oh, it's sliding. It's just a sheet of ice. That'll wake you up. No such thing as a snow day. There has been a time where they pulled us off the route, but then we have to go get into a plow truck and plow the streets. No days off, no going home early. It's keeping the city running.
Bin to bin, block to block, boulevard to boulevard.
For those people who are closing the loop on a lot of different things, your trash, who's stocking the shelves at the grocery store.
A song this city runs on,
Unsung heroes.
but never thinks to listen to.
I think we should be more appreciative to those positions.
Tomorrow morning, just as the first light hits the skyline, you'll hear him driving.
I am serving the community.
And now you'll know what drives him.
That makes me proud.
Coming up, we're going back to our roots. We'll introduce you to a generation of women who stepped up to secure their legacy through the land. On most farms, the land passes from father to son. But on one farm on the ridge, there was no son to pass it to. What happened next became a story of family, loss, and a legacy in hot pink.
Work on the farm, sun up to sundown.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But at Dunaback Farms,
It's asparagus season.
our story starts when there was no sun around.
Every family farm still has a big story of why they're still here.
This is that story for Stephanie Ginsburg.
Great-grandpa started the farm in 1925.
There's Stephanie's grandfather who took over the farm next. You'll notice the name on the barn.
At Dunaback and Sons.
Most family farms are passed down from father to son.
My mom's only brother was drafted in the Vietnam War.
In its third generation, this farm
Hard to talk about that.
had to grow in a different direction.
He could have got off with a farm deferment, but he said, Dad, no, I'm just going to get it over with.
Sue Ann Shoemaker
I'll be back. And he got hit by an enemy rocket.
lost her brother, Mike.
We sent a Western Union note to him telling that we loved him and we were praying for him. And the nurse read the letter to him and he died an hour after that.
That name, a monument to their grief.
It was just hard for Grandpa and Grandma to look up and see Ed Dunaback and Sons when their son was no longer with them.
So a new one took root.
They just decided, well, we should celebrate that we have our two daughters. So Aunt Pam climbed up and repainted the barn.
All because Sue Ann climbed in the seat.
My mom has been kind of a pioneer. She literally was the one running the farm.
That's what I still do mostly out in the field.
She's 73 and she does not slow down.
Neither does the farm's fourth generation.
I think it's kind of in the water around here.
More girls.
And then we've got the fifth generation coming up behind us. I have 3 daughters. I told you it's in the water.
The name changed. And the color too.
We really just leaned into, hey, we are a farm run by the girls.
But one thing remains.
The roots are the same, yeah.
And the people who planted them, never far away.
I know he's up there and so's my sister. They're looking down on us laughing.
At all the things that us crazy girls are doing. But I think they would be very proud.
Just as it has for 100 years. On the Dunaback farm every morning, the sun still hits the crops.
It does make it a little unique.
And so do its daughters.
But it's part of our story.
Our next story takes us south to the Pine Creek Indian Reservation. The U.S. government once stripped Native American children of their language, their culture, their families. Many were sent to boarding schools here in Michigan. Their descendants still healing. How one Potawatomi woman is leading the way.
I like bright colors.
In the darkness of a basement,
My spirit name in Potawatomi is Wasanode.
comes a light.
Wasanode means northern lights.
But often it's the brightest lights
Yeah.
that come from the darkest places.
It's honoring my people of what we weren't able to have.
Pine Creek Reservation is the homeland of Nicole Keith.
My house is on the reservation.
But she didn't grow up here.
Most of my family lived in Battle Creek because out here we didn't have a lot of resources. We didn't have proper plumbing, water, electricity.
It took an act of the United States government to change that.
To get federally recognized is to be recognized that we were here prior to colonization. And that took a very long time.
When her tribe was finally recognized 30 years ago, Nicole moved home.
I always felt I needed to service my tribe.
But home came with heartbreak.
A lot of undealt traumas, a lot of elders dying from premature deaths, diabetes, just things that could could have been prevented.
She watched her family disappear one by one.
My mom had 13 siblings. The younger siblings, including my mom, were sent to boarding school too. They were actually taken away from the res. Only 2 are survived right now. And most of them died from food-related illnesses, poor diet, cirrhosis of the liver. Some of the things, the alcohol abuse, survival cooking, was from boarding schools. It plays a major role in the work that I do now.
To survive it herself.
9 years sober right now.
It was a psychologist who first told her to pick up a brush.
She was like, you need to put it down on paper. What do you do? And so then I was like, I paint. I like to paint.
The paintings that followed were everything she never said out loud.
Each one had a story. My painting, Nonoshe, which is in honor of my aunt on my maternal side. She was murdered the year I was born. One was called Chaos because my whole life was in chaos and I was alcoholic. Before my aunt passed away, she told me that she was raped on a reservation. And so those things came out in my paintings.
Healing her people in the dark.
I'm supposed to heal people through this.
And healing her people.
And then it ended up going to food.
In the light.
We're on Pine Creek Farms. It's just something that we're very proud of, and it has our name on it. I am the food sovereignty coordinator for the Huron Band of the Potawatomi.
For years, she watched her people wither in a food desert.
I just educate our people on healthy eating, bringing back our traditional foods.
Now she cultivates a land that feeds.
I can't believe that it's gone full circle. This is probably the most fulfilling job that I ever had in my life.
She paints her people's past.
What makes America is everybody.
She grows their future.
We are still here.
Out of the darkness.
Our people are still here.
Blooms Pine Creek Reservation's Northern Light.
I feel like I've accomplished something for my people.
One is just getting started, the other never wants to stop. Coming up, a young man finding success in syrup and a longtime barber with no plans to hang up his clippers. There may be no more American story than building something from nothing. I met a young man who knows that better than most. He started with a handful of trees and an idea. What he's built since then? Well, it's pretty sweet.
On a peaceful morning in Caledonia, 2 things break the stillness: what you drive and those who are driven.
So this is one of our sugar bushes here. We usually come out here every day and collect all the sap from all the buckets.
Take a good look at Grayson Hunterman. Well, you can.
This is a walnut tree.
He's going places.
Chip some bark off.
Going to collect sap from hundreds of walnut trees.
Come out just like that and just tap her in nice and lightly. And there you have it.
Going to haul gallons of sap back to the sugar shack to make his own syrup.
So right here we are finishing a batch of walnut syrup. So we'll get this full.
Going to the shelves of your nearby grocery store.
I am the founder of Twisted Tab Sugar Shack.
Going to high school.
I am 17 years old. I am a junior in high school. Yeah.
That's Grayson at 13 with his 16-year-old brother, Quentin.
I run the southern location here. My brother's in the UP running the other location.
That's the year they started a business that is now nationwide.
Couldn't even drive, just had my side-by-side and kind of got around collecting.
But don't be impressed by those numbers. Wait for these.
For our first year, we did 90 taps, and we did 22,000 taps last year. So yeah.
Or maybe
grew very quickly.
These.
School is from 8 to 3 o'clock roughly. So then from 3 o'clock to right around midnight, 1 o'clock sometimes. It's full-time job and full-time student, I feel like.
And here?
Okay. I got a full-time job now that I never thought I'd have.
His workforce.
We like going to the Bahamas in the spring. That don't happen no more.
Yeah.
It's maple syrup season.
Parents Nicole and Ben.
We thought, okay, this is a great opportunity for them to learn good life lessons. Never dreamed that it would jump and become so big.
Press, you want to go to the Can-Am and grab a bucket?
And younger brother.
I guess I kind of just do whatever he tells me to.
Preston.
I would like to stay with it and help out more and more.
Turned into a full-time family affair.
There is one part of the operation Grayson is not allowed to touch. Not yet.
We are at Twisted Tap Distillery. We use our flavor-infused maple syrups in our cocktail drinks. This is where we sell all of our retail products.
Not a lot of people know what's behind the scenes of making maple syrup.
A lot of hard work goes into something
this sweet.
There's a story behind every bottle.
The syrup isn't bad either.
These two boys at 13 and 16 were willing to make a lot of personal sacrifice. Here they are 4 years later, and they're, building something and live out the American dream.
Walk around this side.
Grayson Hunterman may be driven, but at 17 years old,
So as you can kind of see, we're bowling a little bit in there.
he's just building steam.
We'll see where it takes us.
Some are just finding their calling, but our next story found theirs a long time ago and never left. The pole outside of a Walker barbershop has spun for decades. We'll introduce you to the time-honored barber inside who has no plans to cut a new path.
On the Kent-Ottawa County line, you'll find a road called Remembrance and a shop where a man
Jeff, you're next.
doesn't forget.
Went to school with one of my sons. Yep. I don't have to tell him how to cut my hair. He just knows.
I started cutting hair, around 79, 80?
79? Yeah. I had a guy come in the other day with his little boy. He said, this is the 5th generation that you've cut. I cut his dad's hair, his grandpa's hair, and his great-grandpa's hair. All right, Jeff. Yeah, I cut
For so long, Bob Stevens
a lot of hair.
has helped the men of Walker keep up their appearance.
How long have you been doing this?
So long,
64 years. I cut his hair when he was working, now he's retired. That's right.
his appearance
I had apple blossom.
has become part of Walker.
Started when I was 19 years old. Haircuts were $1. Okay, Dale. Payday. $18. $17 for seniors. I'm next. You bet. This chair has been with me the whole time. I bought this one new. I don't really care for that new chair.
Same chair,
So I keep this old one.
different hair.
50% of barbers got out of it in the 70s. Everybody went to the long Beetle haircuts. I'd have a guy bring his kid in, run out the back door. They didn't want a haircut.
For a dying trade, business has a funny way of staying
I
alive.
started 7:30 this morning. Guy here waiting for me when I got here, which they usually are.
You're 83 and you work 10 hours a day, 5 days a week.
Yes, believe me, I enjoy it as much or more than they do.
Always happy. I don't know how he does it.
That's because you love what you're doing.
Then came a time Bob had to do some reflection.
I just lost my wife last December. That's her picture right there. That's what keeps me going.
The chair, he'll tell you, is cheaper than therapy.
Never had that.
Really. Guys will share stuff with me. They probably shouldn't even share.
Definitely a barbershop atmosphere, yep.
It's kind of a gathering point.
The hardest part
All righty.
is when the appointments
Pretty painless, huh?
stop.
Over the years, of course, I've buried a lot of guys. I call on guys that end up in a nursing home. They'll say, can you come and cut my hair? And I say, sure. There's not a nursing home in town I haven't been to. I feel you owe that to them. Cut their hair for 30, 40, 50 years. Thanks for that.
And for a man who never forgets a face,
You bet, Jeff.
When are you planning to retire?
he has no plans to let them forget his.
It's not in my program. I don't plan on retirement.
Someday, Bob will have to hang up his clippers.
Life, even in older age, can keep going.
But for now, there's still a stylist who makes the cut.
And they say if you love what you're doing, you never worked a day in your life.
On the Kent-Ottawa County hairline.
And that's kind of what I go by.
In our 250th year, you may believe our country is more divided than ever. But coming up, we prove there's still one thing uniting us. In its 250th year, many Americans say our country is more divided than ever. But maybe we can find some common ground if we just pull up a chair and listen.
In the heart of downtown Grand Rapids, a symbol of the country's past stands.
Okay, here we go.
And in its shadow, a symbol of the country's future sits.
What do you hope
for America
in the 250th year?
Oh man, there's so many things that I hope for.
Ready? Okay. For the future, I hope that
I hope people start talking to each other again.
A united country for everyone to get along in.
250 more great years.
I think there's a lot of health challenges that America faces.
Still the greatest country on the planet.
And I just hope, on our 250th year, we could start to take that a little bit more seriously.
Just be more peaceful, forgiving. Just more unity and less division, whether it be
racial, religion.
I hope that America turns to Jesus in its 250th year.
Yeah.
Step on up. Take a seat.
I hope, man, racism to end. Man, I didn't choose the color of my skin.
I'm indigenous Mexican American. So, number one, fairness and equality.
I got a son going to college, and I'm afraid for him, to be honest with you.
The melting pot has changed his ingredients.
There's a lot of division. Has to do with people just not looking outside of themselves.
Humans are humans. Treat everybody fair.
They are human rights.
I hope that people can come together and put aside their different opinions, treat one another fairly.
The younger generation have to make sure that we're including everyone.
And maybe the generation coming up now will latch on to that.
I hope more people can become united and more kindness.
Really leaning in to be courageous.
Our generation is starting to form our own opinion.
Courageous to stand up for ourselves, courageous to stand up for others.
Compassion and kindness play a big role in that.
Just be nice. Everybody just be nice.
Continuing to build a life that's great for everybody.
It's a simple solution, for real.
Hopefully, celebrating 250 years, we're able to keep building towards a better place.
Despite our differences,
do you have hope?
There's one thing we can agree on.
I do.
I am hopeful.
Absolutely.
Very hopeful.
For sure.
I'm hopeful. Really hopeful.
I'm hopeful.
Hope in our country.
We have the power. We can change that.
And hope in each other.
Sometimes I feel like it's hard to see that, but I definitely think if you focus on the right things, I think that hope is everywhere to be found.
When America feels a little too divided,
It's just about maybe looking for it.
maybe we need to pull up a seat
Thank you so much.
and hope for a future
Thank you.
This is awesome. Thanks for doing it.
Much. That was
Not a problem. I appreciate it, guys.
where united we stand.
"250 years in, there's still work to be done. But across West Michigan, we've met people who remind us why that work is worth doing. In this milestone year and always, we're glad to be your neighbors. With your We the People, I'm Riley Mack.
We the People is sponsored by North Point Bank.